Greetings. Welcome to Internet to Online, a special webinar series. And today we have a discussion with Matt Burgess at the University of Virginia talking about a candidate Net Plus service, Piazza. Hi, Matt. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Tara. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Thank you for joining us to talk to us a little bit about your experience using Piazza at the University of Virginia. I'm really curious how you learned about Piazza at the institution, and how you've been using it for how long, and how it's kind of progressed.
Absolutely. So Piazza actually predates my time at the university as a staff member. Piazza came to the university for the first time in 2014. I was still a graduate student at that time. And so I really first encountered it directly while working as a staff member, working with the team that supports our primary LMS platform at the university. It was used at that time primarily by STEM instructors, instructors teaching things like mathematics, computer science, applied engineering in our School of Engineering. But since its initial rollout, it's really grown to instructors teaching all types of courses over the last 7 or 8 years or so.
And what type of teaching and learning challenge does it solve or address, for the community at UVA?
So one of the really cool things about my roles with the university is that I've gotten a chance to talk with instructors and ask them those questions. So when I was working as a member of our LMS team, and now in my current role, which is part of the university's Center for Teaching Excellence, I get to sit down with instructors and try to find out what things are working and what challenges these technologies are solving for them. And some of the things that instructors have mentioned to me in particular about Piazza are things like its support for advanced formatting. As I mentioned, we have folks who teach in departments like computer science who want their students to be able to post things like code snippets or code blocks and have students and instructors comment on them. We have a lot of instructors who are teaching with LaTeX, who want folks to be able to post and respond to formulas, equations, things like that. Piazza handles all of those things really well. We also hear over and over again from instructors in a variety of different departments that what they really like is the fact that Piazza allows students to ask questions anonymously, so they don't have to be concerned about opening or exposing their insecurities to their fellow students, and that it invites students to respond to one another's questions. Because at the end of the day, particularly in large courses, there are many more students than there are instructors. And if the students can respond to their peers' questions and can answer those questions for them, they can often resolve their peers' questions much more quickly than the instructors can. And with features like endorsed responses, then the instructors or the teaching assistants can come in and can confirm some of those responses and say, yes, this is a great response, this is the right answer, which not only helps the students who have that question, but also validates the students and encourages them to keep working with one another and answering their peers' questions. So those are some of the things that instructors have mentioned to me that they really appreciate about it.
Sounds interesting. Now, so how has it changed over the years that you've kind of had the service operating, and what's different now that might make sense for it to be a Net Plus service?
Well, we've seen the service grow over the course of its time at UVA. Originally, it was available primarily as a standalone service where folks created accounts and signed into it through piazza.com, just like many other web applications or services. Now, most folks access it primarily through the LMS directly. So that's been a big step forward, is that it will allow instructors to create a course in Piazza by adding the Piazza LTI integration to their course site in the LMS. So saving that step, preventing folks from having to go outside of Piazza to create a separate account, has been a real advantage for us. It's also added, a number of additional features over time, support for things like closing courses at a particular time if you don't want to add additional responses, copying courses or course organization over from one semester to the next, is another nice feature. And of course, we've seen things grow in sheer volume due to the pandemic. As we've all seen, over the course of the last 18 to 24 months, as everything has moved online, the value of tools that really fill a void in the discussion space and allow us to continue, some of these iterative conversations online in the same way that we originally did in the classroom has been just tremendously important. And so the fact that we've been able to, keep these conversations going, conversations that once took place in a lecture hall, in a lab, but that are now taking place in a virtual space and are still taking place with many of the same advantages as a physical conversation, and in some cases, some additional features as well, has been really vital to the continued success of many of our courses at the university.
Great. So it sounds like you have a lot of use cases, a lot of experience with it. Where do you think you could benefit or kind of have additional value if it were part of Net Plus? I mean, was there anything in the contracting process that you think could benefit other institutions if it was in Net Plus?
Certainly, I think a lot of the real features of the Net Plus community would be really valuable here. The ability to, streamline that negotiation process and be able to enter into that negotiation process on behalf of the community, working together as opposed to individual institutions. I'm just one person in the university, in one particular corner of the university, who's offering, negotiating these contracts and working through them on my own. And so to be able to have, a community of other folks, a community of like-minded folks and like-minded institutions working together would be a tremendous advantage. Also, the support element is going to be something that is going to be more and more important to us going forward as more and more of our teaching and learning experience becomes digital or has a strong digital component. The question of how we're going to support all of those things and how we're going to make sure instructors have all the resources that they need to feel comfortable getting started with a new tool, to feel comfortable moving from one tool that might have done some of those same things to another tool. Those things are going to be tremendously important to us. And in my experience, what instructors really want to hear from in that instance is their colleagues. They want to hear from their colleagues, not just at our institution necessarily, but from other parallel institutions about what's really worked for them and what were the 4 or 5 things they needed to get started and what were the 2 or 3 tips that they really needed to keep in mind in order to get the most out of a particular tool. And so to be able to get some of those things from the Net Plus community would be tremendous, I think.
Well, and it sounds like you and your colleagues at UVA would have a lot to add and to your peers at other institutions with the experience that you've had thus far with Piazza. So I think that we would love to have you on some type of evaluation, service evaluation, sharing your best practices as well. And look forward to seeing what the community interest would be in moving forward. In terms of, is there enough interest out there to go through the service evaluation process to join you in something like that, and how, as a community, they can continue to work together and help enhance the product, work with Piazza on the product roadmap and derive further benefit for, students across the country. So, is there anything else that you think would be important for your colleagues or for people in the community to know about Piazza or where you see that? If anything else that you would like to kind of mention, or do we kind of cover it all?
I think we've covered most of it. Maybe one thing that I'll add here is that, for a tool like this, especially a tool that's being used relatively heavily at the university. So Emily, if you could pull up that graphic and we could take a quick look at it, we can get a visual sense of how the tool has been used at the university. So you can see just over the last 3 years, and in particular, over the last couple of years during the pandemic, how much the use of the tool has grown, with 409 different courses using it in 2020, with a total enrollment of more than 32,000 students, which is more students than our individual students enrolled throughout the whole university. So that should give you a sense of how broadly it's been used here, especially in the last year. But despite all of that usage, and thank you, Emily, for showing that to us, we don't see a huge number of support requests related to the tool. You would expect to see, a lot of questions from instructors, a lot of folks needing a lot of help as they get started. That's not really what we've seen. So what we have seen is a lot of instructors who dive in and start using it pretty easily, a lot of students who do the same. And so to me, that's a real testament to how well the tool has worked for us. And so we would love to get a chance to share some of our experience with other folks in the community, hear what other folks might have to say, and get a conversation going, because it's worked pretty well for us thus far.
Great. I agree with you. I'd like to hear that as well. And we hope that some members of the community reach out to us as a result and give us feedback. I think, it's a great opportunity to show the power of collaboration and sharing. And so anybody that is curious to know more about Piazza, you can check out their website. But more importantly, we hope you'll reach out to us, and whether it's for Piazza or other potential NetPlus candidate services, we'd love to hear from you at netplus@internet2.edu. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a great day.